All right. It's Sunday night with Steve and Ellis. Here we go, guys. Let's get it on. All right, sir. Let's make it happen, man. What's going on, Ellis?
Oh, hello, Stephen. How are you this evening? Very nice to see you.
Indeed, sir, indeed. So let me just start off by telling everybody tonight's going to be a little bit different. Ellis and I are going to bring it the way we do when we're on the phone because, quite frankly, we're real people, man. We're just real people, and we do this stuff because we love it, and it matters to us. And so when we're talking, it's just he and I. You know, a lot of times I'm like, poking this guy over here, but we're like back and forth in it. And it's very important for you guys to understand. We number one, it doesn't take anything for our movement to trash people. I mean, there are some people out there right now that are having these fake pitch wars that are going back and forth, sniping at each other. And we're here trying to save lives. We're here trying to make it so that you all have the tools to equip you to actually fight the real revolution that is in between our ears. And quite frankly, there's a guy tonight, and I'll take you off the screen for just a second, Ellis. There's a guy tonight that has been doing it probably for the last 3 months. He got butthurt in the Real Progressives open discussion group or closed discussion group. And he's decided to make it his personal mission to be worthless and say stuff like Real Progressives is bought and paid for by George Soros and whatever, right? Now, first things first. All right, Ellis, all right. It is funny. I admit it.
Yes, it is. I'm sorry.
It is very funny.
I'm sorry.
But it's also very important to bring this up because our movement is full of these buttheads, these people that have an IQ that is measured in negative numbers, and they probably have other deficiencies measured in negative numbers that cause them to do worthless things like this. But anyway, back at the ranch. Before I pull you back in. It's very important that you all understand everything from our work with Joe Firestone, last night with Nancy Bordier, every one of our guests, Real Progressives is literally the lone wolf when it comes to actually putting things out there that are meaningful, substantive, and effective in trying to combat the powers that be, quite frankly, that are holding all of us back and are making it so that we can't have the things we need to survive. Folks, do you realize I could give a shit if you call our next iteration of politics some name like Bolshevikism or Grumbinism or Ellisism or whatever? I don't need it to be called socialism. You'd have to be worthless to go there to feel like in order for anything to be good, it has to be called this or it has to be called that, okay? The fact is that when you follow what we're doing, you realize that what we're doing is we are literally fighting for truth. When you understand that all the memes about the only problem with socialism is after a while you run out of other people's money, well, we're here to tell you that's a bunch of bullshit. But yet the people that claim to be socialists demand to have that war anyway. Folks, swear to God, this is the level of stupid that we've got to deal with in our midst. And people are saying, well, shouldn't we all just get along? Folks, there's far more important things to do than just unity. And there's far more important things to do than just simply going around and acting like we're all, fighting for the same thing, because we're not fighting for the same thing. We are not fighting for the same thing. If you're out there protesting pipelines and you're out there protesting things like that, we share a common goal to stop fossil fuels. But when you sit there and you stop listening when we start telling you how we can get green energy, we are no longer on the same team. That's the dividing line right there. The dividing line gives and flows when it comes down to whether you just want to be an angry fool with your fist in the air or whether you want to be angry and actually get something accomplished. And that is the story of tonight's broadcast. Ellis and I are on a roll. We're both pissed off. We're both tired of the loud noise. And let me just say something else too. The people that run around saying bourgeoisie, the bourgeois, the bougie, and all the other Marxist terminologies that make them feel really edgy and cool, if they can't grasp the basics of modern monetary theory, why in the fuck are they trying to use a big word like that nobody else cares about either? Just spitballing, folks. If you can't understand the basics, that our nation creates its own money, and that we're constrained only by natural resources and our own resources to deliver on the needs of the people, then why would you use some big B word to talk about the fight you're going to fight, but yet you don't fucking have a clue? We're here to make you have a clue so that we can actually fight together. But you can't fight these mythical dragons without having at least a sort of truth. And they want to run in there, hair on fire. I don't care what's going on in the world. That's all I'm going to do. So anyway, let me bring Sir Ellis back to the fold here, brother. Welcome back, Ellis. I like your hair mug. What's up with that? You get a new haircut?
Yeah, I got pissed off. I got pissed off. My hair just fell out. I mean, what can I say? I woke up this morning and my body said, "Oh, Ellis must be an asshole today," and then the hair fell out.
Well, so we all have a little. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my mug right now. It's still kind of in that transition phase.
That's all right. That's all right. Just let it go. Humans have hair to do crazy things with it. That's the only purpose. All right. So be happy, shave it, do something with it.
All right.
So, I'm sorry I had to laugh. I wasn't, with the thing. I can't help it. Sometimes this shit's really funny. It needs to be ridiculed. But I had a picture of Yosemite Sam in my head at the time. Ooh, it's them both of it. Ooh, and I had to laugh. I'm sorry.
All right. So let's address this because when we were talking the other day, it came down to it that I would like to be able to fight our enemy, and the enemy that we're fighting, quite frankly, is well organized, well equipped, well financed. They've got their talking points down to a science. They've got all the gaslighting down to a science. They own the means of production for media. They own the means of production for written journalism. They own the means of production for even social media. And we're sitting here amongst ourselves, these parasites running around calling people fighting against that. They're calling them Soros bought. They're calling them all kinds of stuff. And let's talk about the own gunshot wound to the junk that our own freaking movement does to itself. I mean, it's like death by asphyxiation on bullshit. I mean, what the hell, man?
Now, you remember Patty Hearst back in the 70s, the SLA, all that left-wing terrorist bullshit?
Yep.
Okay, well, it's nothing like that I'm about to say. I'm just trying to conjure up an image so you know what I'm talking about. You got these Che Guevara types, they got the beret on, they got the Cuban cigar, and they want to have their little Che Guevara revolution, And basically, they need this class war and they want to fight the rich. And that's the most important issue facing us today, especially in America. Got to fight the rich, got to have the class war, got to put on the beret, have the Cuban cigar, call ourselves Che, little red cookbook. Okay, these are the most important issues. And when they discovered that the average progressive, the average human being, okay, in America wants to have universal health care or would like to see a job guarantee, they decided, I got a great idea. Let's kidnap them and hold them hostage. We'll just hold universal health care hostage. We'll hold a job guarantee hostage until our demands are met. And that is exactly what they're doing. It's terrorism. They're holding universal health care hostage until their demands for class war is met. Why? You're holding people hostage who could get a job in a job guarantee at a living minimum wage with benefits. You're going to hold them hostage until your demands for class war are met. I see. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? And so then suddenly, you see the people, the average progressives, some progressive leaders who aren't part of this weird thing, they start buying into the romantic part of it, tax the rich, tax the rich. We can't have these things unless we tax the rich. We can't have these things unless we have a class war. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. But what we can't do is end the suffering now. We've got to have a 50-year class struggle. We've got to redesign society. You've got to hold people hostage is what you're saying until you get your demands met. Okay? No.
You and I had this conversation, and it was like spot on. I'll say what you won't say. And the bottom line is, it's like all these edgy little European friggin', white terrorist cells that sit there. And now, mind you, it's not like they're carpet bombing things and stuff like this. But the object here is that they're literally sitting there telling us, well, I don't want to save all these lives unless it's through socialism. I'm only willing to save your life, and I'm only willing to save the planet from destruction if we got socialism, because I'm not supporting the capitalists and I'm not supporting any of this other stuff. And it's like, guys, we're kind of on the same page in like terms of, hey, I'd love to make an equal society. Hey, I want to take away the power of the rentier class. I want to diminish the power of the investment class. I want to bring the power back to the people. But they think it's like, here's this like spectrum. And in their mind, there's only two spots on the spectrum. There's here and then there's here. And they don't have any concept of how to get there from here. And so for me, I can't follow them. I don't know if I can even join with them, because the kind of stuff it's like you try to bring up how we can pay for Jill Stein's plan. Perfect example. Jill Stein's plan. That's pretty freaking left wing for America, guys, whether you realize it or not. In the rest of the world, it's just sort of basic. But in America, that's real left wing. And these folks, once we start telling them how we can do that, they're like, no. We don't even want to talk about that. We got to take down the capital. We got to do this. We got to do that. And then before we can do any of Jill's plan, we also have to green the dollar, democratize the dollar. And then before we even do that, then after that, we have to also make sure that we've taken back the means of production, that all workplaces are democratized. We can't do any of what you're saying. We're not really worried about saving lives. We're worried about having a democratized workplace. So count us out. We can't be part of this thing until you do that. It's like, well, wait a minute. Your platform said this. Well, in stack ranking, the democratized workplace comes before anything else. It comes before a job guarantee. It comes before Medicare for all. It comes before green energy even, folks. It comes before the planet. We've got to democratize the workplace, and we got to take back the tax. We got to take them down. And it's like, what is this all about, Ellis? What is, I mean, for real? What is that all about?
That's an ideological desire right there, and that ideological desire trumps reality every single time for these people. The thing is that people understand that the oligarchy, is very powerful, controls the government, so forth and so on. Anyone who saw Nancy's show last night, actually, I want to say this right now and get this out of the way because I need to say this. That was last night's show with Nancy was absolutely the best real progressive show I have ever seen in my life. That was the number one thing right there. And if you did not learn something, how are we going to do this? How are we going to take down the oligarchy? Why don't you check out what Nancy was talking about last night? All right, there's plenty that can be done. Okay, and we plan to do that. But here's the thing, and it's very important for people to understand this. What Steve is trying to say is that there are people out there that like to put on layer upon layer upon layer of excuses of why we can't do this right now. And once you break through one layer, they've got another layer that you got to get through. The first layer is how you're going to pay for that. You have to get through that layer first. How are you going to pay for universal health care if you're not going to tax the rich? Well, Congress will authorize the spending. Okay, well, what about the oligarchy? How are you even going to get it by Congress unless the oligarchy agree? And it just keeps going until they say, no, the first thing that we have to do is we have to tear the entire system completely to the ground. And we've got to rebuild it before we can do anything. Might take 100 years. Okay, then why does your platform say we stand for universal health care? Why does your platform say we stand for full employment? If you have no intention of dealing with it at the moment. Okay, the point here is this. You know, when I say they've got the fist in the air, but it's kind of limp, they don't really mean it. This is what I mean. If you're going to put your fist up in the air, all right, you're going to use it. Why can't you use your fist to drive home full employment? Why can't you use your fist to drive home universal health care? Why can't you use it to fight? Well, you're going to just use this excuse, oh, well, the oligarchy. Oh, well, you know, how are you going to pay for it? I'm so sick of hearing the how you're going to pay for it thing. You know, it makes me want to shave my head completely. Right? I'm so done with that. The national debt is 180 years old. All right? I've said this a million times. I'll say it one more time. It's 180 years old. So the Civil War, how are you going to pay for that? The Spanish-American War, how are you going to pay for that? New dome on the Capitol building, how are you going to pay for that? World War I, how are you going to pay for that? World War II, how are you going to pay for that? The WPA, how are you going to pay for that? The Korean War, how are you going to pay for that? Vietnam War, how are you going to pay for that? Nuclear escalation, how are you going to pay for that? How are you going to pay for that? Are you going to keep asking the same stupid question for another 180 years? I mean, seriously.
They are.
It's about time you shut the fuck up.
Absolutely.
All right. If you want change, if you actually want change, you want to put your fist in the air and you want to mean it, and you want to sock it to the oligarchy, there's two things. One, you got to bring the oligarchy down. That's obvious. And we talk, and this show, Real Progressives talked about that with Nancy last night for a long time. It was very, very moving, very, very deep, very, very interesting. The best show I've ever seen on Real Progressives. Full of information on how we can suck it to the oligarchy and make the politicians do what they're told and they can get the fuck out. All right? But on the other hand, in football, it's not just the players, there's also a ball. You got to kick a ball around and put it through the net. So, yeah, you're going to fight the oligarchy. That's great. Okay, that's the opposing team. What about the football you're going to kick around? That would be the job guarantee. That would be universal health care. You got to have something there, all right? You got to be fighting for something. It's, I'm just going to bring down the. Well, what are you going to do? Bring down the oligarchy? I'm going to bring the oligarchy down. Then we'll get to things. Then why don't you just make your platform? We're going to bring the oligarchy down, and that's it, because you have no intention of helping anyone.
Zero.
Right now.
Zero. And that, to me, folks, if you want me to join forces with people that are saying to me, when you peel back the layers of the onion, and they tell you point blank, they don't care if you live or die, you're just food for the machine to get their socialist world. Okay, now mind you, we're fighting for the very things that they're saying they're fighting for. The difference is they have no intention of doing anything without this fake revolution, or actually maybe it's a real revolution. I don't know. I don't, for the life of me, understand why they would deem regular lives today less valuable than lives tomorrow. Why they just presume people should die today in pursuit of their ideological. Remember my live stream the other night where I ranted, Ellis? I went just ape shit that I was sick and fucking tired of people putting ideology over lives. I was sick and tired. I went off on Richard Wolff. I went off on the Green Party. I went off on all the SAs. I went off on every other independent, socialist, democratic, anybody that puts ideology ahead of saving lives. I considered them to be, in this case, on the wrong side of it. Can they be helped to be brought into the right side of it? I don't know. I think they really are more in love with just yelling and screaming than actually achieving.
It's a romantic notion of political revolution. You know what I'm talking about? Che Guevara, Lenin. You know how romantic it is. It's a bunch of shit, and I don't have time for that. Look, do not tell me that if I had a critical mass of Americans, and I'm just not about America, but here we're talking about the United States. Do not tell me that if I had a critical mass of citizens who demanded universal health care and knew how it was paid for, do not tell me that we have no chance in hell of getting it, even though the oligarchy rules. Don't tell me that, because I know for a fact we can. I know for a fact we can. All right. But it's important to get rid of the oligarchy. Got it. But here, what's not important is We've got to go immediately from this capitalist system straight to socialism. And there can be no gray area. There's no transition. And until we're allowed to do that, then nobody's going nowhere. We're all going to sit around and die. No, we're not. I'm not doing that. Do not tell me that I cannot get a job guarantee. Do not tell me that I cannot have universal healthcare, infrastructure modernization, high-speed rail, and green energy, and transition into a different type of system altogether. Do not tell me it's not possible, because it certainly is. And what's important, and the reason why I've been teaching, I guess, as you could say, MMT here for about 3 years now on social media, is for this very reason. To get people, the average person, understanding how their monetary system works. And once they understand that, they tell others and they tell others until we reach a critical mass, and then the people push forward and we get what we came for, right? We come for full employment. Absolutely. And the public purpose. And we're not going to stop till we get that. But what I did not say is we come for socialism and we're not going to stop till we get that. Okay, I didn't say that. That's because I said I come for full employment and a public purpose, and I'm not going to stop till I get that. I come to save lives. I come to end suffering, to end poverty. That's the most important thing. That is what comes first. Okay, then you can have whatever the hell you want after that. You can transition into it. But we're not going to let people die in the process, and we're not going to make a bunch of excuses for why we should let people die. Oh, well, how are you going to pay for that? Oh, well, oligarchy. Oh, well, I'm not listening to that crap. All right. Oligarchy is very important. But like I said, last night's program explained how we can fight that one and win.
You know, Ellis, I think it's important to say we are not a party. We are not a political party, and we are not tied to any political party. We are obviously, I mean, let's be fair, we're obviously real progressives, so that would lend you to believe that we're pretty fucking far left. But the difference here is,
I'm far left.
let's just keep it real, okay? That what we're talking about here is, you're not hearing anybody here bragging on the Democratic Party. You're not here watching me or anyone with me saying, oh, we've got to enter the Democratic Party. You're not seeing me do anything of the sort. You're seeing me every single night telling you to stop being the easy lay at the bar and to friggin' know your value. You're seeing me telling you not to let the first jackass who drunk winks at you to take you home at night. Freaking fight and make them earn your vote. Make them earn your allegiance. Stop telling me to build green, build blue, build this. You make them earn it. And if they don't know macroeconomic reality and they tell you a bunch of shit about a fractional reserve system, you tell them to go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
You tell them to go fuck themselves.
Exactly.
The answer here, folks, is saving lives. We don't need to do some fantasy thing to push us 10 years down the road before we can actually have single payer or something like that. We can do it today, and we are dying today. And I'm not waiting around for some bullshit freaking fetish to come true so that my children can inherit a world worth inheriting. And if you are okay with that, probably going to be bored with our show because we're not.
Yeah. Anyway, you know, as you can tell, Steve's obviously paid by banksters to say that. I mean, right. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, but here's what we're talking about now. You know, as Steve's going across now, what we're talking about is the moment you mention deficit spending, you get the blue people, you get the Democrats coming out after you, accusing you of being a trickle-down billionaire lover. I mean, yeah, come on. Yeah, so,
what do you want, Trump? What do you want, Trump?
Yeah, what is all that shit? All right, that's a bunch of shit, and you know it. All right, and well, they don't know it. They're too delusional because they've been spending their whole lives being told what to fucking think. You know, I'm so goddamn tired of people thinking, yeah, this freaking hypocrisy. Oh, politicians are all cheats and liars. Every last one of them a fucking liar. but they're telling the truth about how money works, how the monetary system works, and how the
Isn't
dollar
that
works.
something?
They're telling the truth that the government's broke. That's where they're telling the truth, but they're lying about everything else. Oh, and they're telling the truth that deficit spending is dangerous. That's one of those trickle down Reaganite voodoo economic things.
Oh my, Ellis, we got to hit that one hard, man. Okay, folks, I want to show of hands out there. Which one of you people actually believes that the government is full of shit? It lies to you every day in, day out. But somehow or another, when they tell you that we're broke or that we're in debt to China and all this other shit, how many of you suddenly believe that worthlessness? How many of you believe that crap? How many of you believe that bullshit? Because I'm telling you right now, I find it fantasy. I find it incredibly enticing fiction to understand a person or a people that tells you that the government is lying, that they're going for wars for oil, they're doing this, they're doing that. But suddenly that same government is so incompetent, so unable to do anything to stop these nerdy guys with freaking banker's glasses and long noses and all the other fucking disgusting, bigoted memes you friggin' anti-Jew folks do. I mean, I don't understand how it is possible that such people exist. Oxygen thieves across the board. People that are stealing air for people that are maybe just a little bit better off with the air than they are. Because I'm telling you right now, when you sit there and you tell me, we got to fight it, we got to fight it, we got to fight it, then all of a sudden it's like, well, did you see the CBO report? The CBO came out and said, this is going to be a real big problem, Ellis. What about the CBO projections? What the fuck, man?
Who gives a shit about the CBO? They don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. They're paid to do what Congress says. If the Congress says, do this, we need numbers for this, they just run it. And then you get an idiot who's in charge of it says, oh, we're all going to die. I mean, what's new? Paul Krugman tells us we're all going to die depending on who's in the White House. I mean, look, it's real simple to understand, okay? I just want to ask people who are still delusional, right, to just critically think for a moment. You just use the brain God gave you, okay? Let the political parties out of there. On the one hand, let's say you're a Democrat, you think the Republicans are full of shit, okay? Republicans are wrong about everything, they're liars, they're cheats, and blah, blah, blah. But you'll notice that Republicans do say the national debt's a real thing. And it can be dangerous. It's the national credit cord. All right. You'll notice that Democratic Party tells you the same goddamn thing. Okay, so you need to make up your mind. They're lying all the time except about how federal spending works and the national debt and what federal taxes do. Okay, they're telling the truth about that, but they're lying about everything else. That's just insane, and you know it. And so sit back and say, well, then what is the truth? Well, when I come to tell you that the federal government, the U.S. government, is the monopoly issuer of the U.S. dollar. It's the source of the U.S. dollars, where all U.S. dollars come from. All right. So federal taxes, you don't go out and get money. The federal government does not go out and collect dollars from people and then spend it to pay for things. Okay. So federal taxes drive the currencies. They limit spending power. They alter behavior. But what they don't do is fund spending. Three. Now, let me finish this because it's not going to take very long. 3, the bonds. Treasury bonds are issued for one reason only, so that the government can establish and maintain a particular interest rate. And 4, the national debt's a bunch of savings accounts. That's it. Now, when I say that, I'm accused of being bought and paid for by criminal banker handlers. Criminal banker handlers. What fucking commercial bank do you know that would pay people to say the federal government can never go broke, taxes don't fund spending, the national debt's not a real debt, and we need to get rid of private debt? Private debt's the lifeblood of a fucking bank. What the hell? Where do you get the idea that MMT is coming from criminal banking handlers? What kind of crap is that?
Evil.
Use your fucking heads. All right? Stop listening to the Democratic Party, the Republican Party. They're both full of shit. It's called neoliberalism. All right. So if you're going to put your fists in the air and you're going to fight neoliberalism, the first thing that you've got to do is you've got to stop believing in the economic narrative, because it's all bullshit. 100% bullshit. All right. The government budget constraint is not some ex-ante financial constraint. It's an ex-post accounting identity. Live with it. Okay. That's your technical term. For the average person, in layperson's terms, government can't go fucking broke because it's where money comes from. It's where the dollar comes from. End of story. Okay? Now relax. Take some Xanax. Shut the fuck up.
All right. So, Ellis, I want to talk about why the quote unquote socialists of the world. But let me just say this. People bitched at me for not talking nonstop about Donald Trump before.
Hey, Steve. While you're talking, do you mind if I change? I'm a little uncomfortable.
Sure, knock yourself out, brother.
Okay, thanks, great.
All right.
No, just keep going. Don't worry, don't even take me off the screen. It's fine.
No. So as we sit there and look at the way they treated us because we didn't beat up on Trump, because I felt like the real job was to make people who claim to hate all these things on the left actually act like the left. If you want to tell me that I've got to focus on Republicans, yet the left can't get their head out of their ass, then what good does it do us to worry about Republicans, Mr. Sex Pistol? I mean, really, what good does it do? But my question comes down to this. If the left is following mealy-mouthed people that tell lies and create myths and legends that are only, and I'm beginning to understand this. Let me tell you what blinding flash the obvious I just had. I honestly believe that a large part of the reason why folks like the Green Party and others have these things that they want to do to change the money system before they do anything else, got to green the dollar, democratize the dollar, et cetera, is because they really are looking for that class struggle more than they are at helping people and saving lives.
Exactly.
And so the bottom line is they throw up these roadblocks because, first of all, they're not in power to make any of these changes to begin with. So they know that if by some chance the Democratic Party were to be successful right now and do something out of character, like actually serve the people, that would render them null and void. And people would say, oh my God, the Democrats gave us single payer. What are we going to do now? We can't, whatever. So at the end of the day, they don't have power, so they've got to have something as a placeholder kind of to slow play us until they feel like they've gotten to a place of power. That's the only thing I can think of why they would not be fighting right now today for these things that are in their platform. Their platform is impeccable. I love it. Okay. Ajamu Baraka said something remarkable the other day on Twitter, and I agree with him 100%. He said that if the Green Party doesn't have a decisive answer to neoliberalism, it's dead. And he's right. And you and I, and the MMTers of the world are the antidote. We are the lethal strain that kills neoliberalism. And so
I'm the fucking vaccine, buddy. I'm the fucking vaccine, baby, against neoliberalism and economic asshattery. Everything that I say here, everything that Joe Firestone says here, everything Nancy said last night, everything Steve tells you, everything Stephen Hale has said, Fadl Kaboub, Warren, Randall Wray, Cherniver, everything that you've heard these people say is the vaccine against economic asshattery in the future. It is the vaccine against neoliberalism. You have to have a plan, and you have to have a different economic narrative. And let me tell you something. Change for the sake of change don't work. Say, oh, well, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are not proposing to end the Fed. Well, the Libertarian Party is. But no reason why we can't join Ron Paul in the struggle. Give me a break.
Bingo.
Give me a fucking break.
Fuck that.
Join Ron Paul in the struggle to end the central bank, because it's got the US government at its knees. And it comes straight from show one for the first time when I showed up on Real Progressives and agreed to do an interview. If the fucking Federal Reserve has the federal fucking government at its fucking knees, how the fuck can you expect the federal fucking government to end the fucking Fed? You can't. It's a bunch of nonsense. Okay? It's nonsense. And it's a waste of fucking time. Now, join merge the Fed with the Treasury. Hey, MMT's all about that. That's great. No problem. Put it under Treasury's flag and let's go. It'll shut up a lot of people's mouths, let me tell you. But end the Fed. End the Fed. Let's create a money creation committee. All right. Good night. No, you're off. Get out. Back off with that. We're done with this. All right. Do you want to end suffering? Or do you just want to appear to be, I'm a political party that's different than the mainstream? Do you care more about your party than you do the people? If you do, then you have absolutely no hope of defeating neoliberalism. End of story. You're going to be drug around with the chain. Neoliberals got the choke collar on you and it's going to pull. It's going to say, what should we do? How are we going to fund universal health care, Stephen? Stephen would say, well, we're going to tax the rich. Tax the rich. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to tax the rich. Yeah, how many more people are going to die? How long is it going to take you to get an 80% tax rate on the rich when the rich control the government? What the hell are you guys talking about? But I could get 140 million screaming citizens demanding it. And somebody is going to have to listen, especially if almost all of these people know that the fucking rich don't pay for it. It's not your fucking money. Uh-oh. Now there's going to be a lot of anger. There's going to be a lot of danger. Nancy Pelosi's in danger of having career run short, and she's going to have to go on speaking tours in another country because no one here wants to hear her fucking mouth run. Hey? Okay. God. I mean, yeah, it's obvious. It's obvious this is a big conspiracy. Goldman Sachs owns us all. Shit. God. The fucking asinine. Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's take it back a notch. Somebody said that we should end this broadcast when it comes time with a little rage. So I added the song "Wake Up" to the mix here because there's nothing like the line where he says, "Rep the stutter, Stefan Bama left upon the fascists." Boom. I mean, I'm telling you right now, if you really want to bomb a left upon the fascists, if you really mean that you want to bomb a left on them, right? And you really want to fight the man, we have given you the tools to go and sit there and rally and unite and go take action at the Pete Peterson Foundation, the people that are Fix the Debt, okay? We're at the place where all these fools, okay? It's like, what do I have to do to wake you up to shit? All this shit. It's like, what do we have to do to wake you up? Because the fact is that this is so simple, a caveman can do it. You just have to understand that it takes knowledge of a basic that we can't go broke. You don't have to be a freaking economist to get this. You don't have to know every nuance of banking down to each debt instrument being some thing that they put in place to make it seem like, giant magic that makes things happen. Bottom line is, all this stuff is a bunch of bullshit. And it's really meant to keep you and I down and keep us hungry and begging for more so that the capitalists really can own us. So instead of understanding that and instead of fighting that war, they instead just want to burn it down because the whole system's bad. We're going to implement a great system. It'll be great. Just like Donald Trump, you can hear him now. It'll be great. Well, it'll be great. It'll be spectacular. And unless you split the country in two and say Republicans over there, lefties over here, and I don't even know. I mean, lefties, and then you've got common sense lefties, and then you got these idiot centrists that are the zombie class. Okay,
it really comes. No, look at me. It really comes to something. Mean to interrupt, but it really comes to something. In my experience, and I'm pretty sure it's yours too. It really comes to something, doesn't it? When Republicans are more open and receptive to what you're saying about how federal spending works than progressives are. Doesn't that shock you? I mean, think about that. All right? You got this is called self-sabotage here. You would think that if you told a progressive, guess what? The truth of the matter is the money doesn't grow in rich people. The truth of the matter is we don't need to tax dollars of the rich to have everything that we want. Okay? So the government just pays for it. That's what it's been doing for 40 years. It spends dollars into existence every time it spends. You'd think they'd say, oh, cool, we could get everything we want now, and we could do an end run around the fucking rich, make them totally irrelevant, then come up behind them and give them a kidney punch in the end after we've ended the suffering. Oh, no, don't have a class war. I mean, but Republicans, the conservatives are more willing to listen with an open mind. I mean, what does it come to when you see something like that? What does it tell you? And then no wonder we're accused of being trickle-down billionaire level.
It's ridiculous. I mean, seriously, you figure how many super rich are there in the world? I mean, there's not many by comparison.
Yeah, it's a little handful.
Yeah, handful. And then you have another layer of people that are kind of somehow or another broke through another layer of the fat that get a little bit extra, that are sitting up there high and mighty. But then you got the rest of us. Yeah, you got the rest of us. Okay? At the end of the day, the rest of us, we don't benefit from taxing the shit out of people. We benefit from money being spent onto us. That right there is the way that we survive. Okay? It just, you at some point in time need to understand that if a fucking tax dollar is deleted, get this.
You can't spend it.
Exactly.
You can't spend it.
Literally, folks, when you kiss your kids at night, you go, well, I love you, baby. And you say to them, I'm going to give you a better world tomorrow. We're going to tax the rich to do it. You know that they're really just literally strangling their kid, because they just, not only are they probably a bad parent saying that, but they're definitely a bad person, bad citizen, because this is the shit that is killing us. And it's ignorance. And a lot of it is because some people aren't exposed to it. But there are a lot of people. And folks, I'm telling you right now, there are an awful lot of people that have been exposed to this that reject it. Well, there are a lot of theories. A lot of theories out there. They act like, oh, it's just all some big nebulous thing. Fuck you, it's nebulous. It's the truth. This is verifiable, certifiable, honest, observable science truth. We're not talking about, what if you spend 10 trillion on this thing? That's economics and that's political. We're talking about the way a dollar is created and where dollars come from. That's not macroeconomic theories. And I wonder what happens if this is how it is done. So when people say, well, there's all sorts of theories, they are literally taking your child and they're putting their finger in its eye. That's what they're doing. Because they are so freaking hell-bent on, they can't admit they don't know and ask you to teach. So they just sit there and they literally saunter about saying stupid things without realizing that ultimately they are the reason why schools are underfunded. They are the reason why food stamps are underfunded. They're the reason why there is no universal health care. They're the reason why across the board. Because if we, the 99%, really did rise up and demand that they act on the truth that we know to be true, we would not be suffering the way we are. I want to blame them for doing it, but guess what? They're the enemy. We shouldn't have to worry about our own. But our own are the ones that are holding us back, saying, oh, we can't possibly do that. Why are you talking economics? Why are you talking about this stuff? Why aren't you worrying about Donald Trump's tax returns?
Oh, I hate that orange Cheeto.
No, folks, this is the amount of death our own team is dealing right now. You think I'm fucking with you?
Yeah.
I'm not fucking with you. This is why we can't have nice things. And this is why I rage on a daily basis. And this is why in the world do I want to point at the Republicans when I know who and what the fuck they are? And you do too.
Yeah.
You don't need me to tell you this shit. Then you're lost. What you need to do is realize that in our own midst, the only people that have a chance to take that shit down, we are still busy sauntering about, saying stupid things, refusing to learn, and say, well, everybody, let's unite. Let's go on a retreat. Let's have a big soiree. Let's get together. Let's talk about singing. I got an acoustic guitar. We can sing some songs together. Let's have a fire. Let's do some fun things and stuff.
I won't be in attendance. Sorry, I hate folk music.
Well, I like folk music, but my point is it's a sad story. It's a sad alternative to learning how to really, really, truly take this shit down. Being angry is a great thing. It fuels passion. It fuels the desires to make things happen. But when you couple that with knowledge, you actually can do something. But when you just sit there running about saying, well, I don't support this stuff because I only support Marxism and I only support this kind of socialism. And so until we take the man down, I won't have anything to do with it because I'm a socialist. I am a socialist. Have you ever heard this nonsense before?
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going,
even back in college, I heard this stupid shit. I'm a socialist. I'm a democratic socialist. I mean, the people that know me personally know I am. Oh, my wife does. The democratic left comes to the house constantly. The point is that I'm not so much of a socialist that I would rather just watch people die until I can get socialism. Okay? And then once prosperity is achieved, what if tomorrow I was able to get a job guarantee? Okay, end to involuntary unemployment forever. You'd have the dollar anchored to labor, so you couldn't fuck with labor, or else you'd screw with the economy. We get rid of low-wage producers. We got no problem with inflation. Got price stability. Okay, and we have universal health care. We've got infrastructure work going. We're going to have high-speed rail. We're switching to sustainable output and green energy. In 10 years, socialism itself might not be the ideal thing. We might notice that we're creating something new and exciting that's far, far better. And it's not capitalism. It's not even related to capitalism. But it's something different. Something different. But, upending the entire system, turning it upside down and burning everything to the ground and rebuilding everything from the ground up, is not necessary to end suffering. And look, ending the suffering, ending poverty, is not going to cause the capitalist to stay deeply entrenched. I just don't, you have this, no one's starving anymore. Everyone has a really good job. Everyone's got great wages. There's people who can't work. There's the basic income. We've got great health care in America. We've got high-speed rail. Everything's just so wonderful. We look like Denmark in a way. The capitalist is really raping us. No. The capitalist is raping you now. Okay? They're raping. Whenever poverty exists, your ass is being raped by capitalism. You're being raped by neoliberalism. You are making a mistake. You have errant thinking. And you need to take your dunce cap off and sit it down because it's got some tinfoil in there. All right? And it's not allowing reality to filter in. Okay? It's just no good to have your headphones in and say, la, 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 I will only listen to Nancy Pelosi. But that's why you're stupid. Okay? Because that woman's a dumb fucking woman. I mean, she's dumb. Well, she knows exactly what she's doing.
Amen.
But she plays dumb for the fucking camera. She plays dumb for the fucking camera, just like Obama played dumb for the fucking camera, just like fucking Clinton played dumb for the camera. They all know what the fuck they're doing. And they all fucking know how it works. I'm going to tell you right now, God's honest truth, there are people in Treasury and at the Federal Reserve right now that know how the monetary system works. And in private, if they heard me talking about it, I heard Warren Mosler talking about it, they say, yeah, that's how it works.
Absolutely.
They're not allowed to tell you anything because they're not official PR spokespersons for the government. Congress is. And as long as Congress is in the pockets of neoliberalism, it's in the pockets of the business leader and the financial sector, you're not going to hear a peep about it. You're just going to hear a bunch of stupid. You say, and then you go, printing money. Well, you know what? If you want to call it printing money, that's what the U.S. government's been doing for the last 40 years, every time it spends. Where's your fucking hyperinflation? And admit you don't know what the fuck hyperinflation is, too, while you're at it.
Oh, my God.
Here's what. Sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up. How about that? And stop telling a medical doctor how things work in medicine, okay? And stop telling me how currency analysis works, okay? Stop telling people who understand currency analysis how currency analysis works, because you don't know what the hell you're talking about, all right? off, you know?
Well, Ellis, you come up with these really, really great one-liners and these funny analogies on your own wall. And I think a lot of people have really come to really enjoy the brutal, blunt honesty and the way you approach things. But I want to say this, right? These folks cannot stand religious people. They can't stand Christianity. They cannot stand all the myths and legends that conservatives tell themselves in order to get through the day. They sit there and they talk about how religion has no place in government, how it has no, but yet these people are creating myths and legends that are akin to the way they view religion. And yet they are allowed to go into freaking Congress with lies. I mean, I want to destroy the people that lie about there being a fractional reserve system. I'm not even joking. If I could fly off the top rope with like piano wire and just wrap them up into it and like, rah! I swear to God, these are the people on our side that are so lethal to progress. There are people dying over their religion. And it's a religion. It's their own religion of stupid. And when I see it and when I hear it, and when these people say, well, you don't understand the creature from Jekyll Isle, and we gotta gain our sovereign money back. We gotta gain our sovereign money back. I mean, what evil idiocy is it that we're dealing with here? And somebody called Dianne Feinstein's office the other day, and all they did was they wanted to let Dianne Feinstein know that she was wrong about how we had to cut spending and how she wouldn't back single payer, blah, blah, blah. And her office came back with the answer that if we just print money, it'll cause wild inflation. This is no joke. This is the worthlessness of these people. This is the evil stupidity. You want to talk about, let's have a revolution.
What year does Dianne Feinstein think, what year does Dianne Feinstein think it is? 1920? You can't print money to fund spending anymore. She should know. Should she not? She's in the very body where spending begins, where it originates. Shouldn't she know how the federal government spends? And guess what? She does. She's telling you.
Horrible.
Lying prat. She's a lying prat. Okay? The fact is that she's lying to you. She wants you to think that how the gold standard operated is exactly how the fiat dollar operates today. No change has ever been made. We just you got taxing to fund spending, you got borrowing to cover your deficits, and if you don't want to do that, there's always printing money, and it'll cause hyperinflation. Okay, now, in a fiat system, a flexible currency arrangement we have today, you can't print money to fund spending. It's impossible. Cash is based on bank customer demand for it. It's got nothing to do with federal spending at all. Federal spending is just a bunch of numbers. They end up on a spreadsheet. It's either called a reserve account or a securities account. Or it could end up as cash when people demand it. But I don't know. What? No. It's just a bunch of numbers on a spreadsheet. Okay? And they get deleted when the government taxes because that's how flexible currency arrangement works. Right? The gold standard worked different, and the reason why it worked different is because there was a gold supply to defend. And the only way to defend that gold supply is to tax the borrower. Why? Because you can't raise the level of currency in circulation higher than the gold supply can handle at the fixed exchange rate. So the government had to tax and recirculate it to keep the supply of dollars consistent. This is no such thing in a fiat system. The fiat system deficit spending is limited exclusively by the real productive ability of the economy, which means that when no more labor can be found, you're all done. You got to stop deficit spending. Guess what? Long fucking way away from there. So every day that the government spends, the government is printing money. If that's what you want to fucking call dollar creation, it's printing money. It's been doing it since 1971, every single time it spends. Yet there is no hyperinflation to be found. And do you know why there's not even a hint of inflation to be found? Because we are never allowed to reach the real productive ability of the U.S. economy. We're never allowed to get to the point of maximum production, the maximum output of goods and services. we're never allowed to have a situation of full employment. See how that works? Full employment. Full employment. Not allowed to have it. Haven't been allowed to have it since the 70s. So no inflation. Okay? No inflation. But you know what? With a federal job guarantee, I can attenuate inflationary pressure at all times without ever causing unemployment. So you don't want a federal job guarantee. What you're basically saying is you want to just sit here, let everybody suffer in poverty, let everybody suffer the indignity and everything. Just let it keep going under the fear of some old archaic monetary system that no longer exists and hasn't existed since the 1920s and or since the 1930s. And speaking of which, the fractional banking thing, fractional reserve banking, ended in the 30s as well. It's never been resurrected. So if you want to use that as a religion, okay, but your God's dead.
You know, exactly. I mean, this is the stuff, Ellis, that we spend. How much time do we spend debunking this bullshit? I mean, honest to God.
Every day. I mean, it's just nonstop. It's ceaseless. We can't even get to policy solutions. You know, we can't even talk about a job guarantee for 2 hours.
Absolutely not.
You know, for 2 straight hours, we've done. You and I have done 2-hour marathons, maybe 2 or 3 times, and not a single time has it been the job guarantee been the topic or universal healthcare been the topic. It's always been basic MMT or debunking something.
Yep.
And what could 2 hours do explaining the job guarantee? Every day people are saying, wait, I don't understand the job guarantee. Could you explain the job guarantee? I would, but so many people think that fractional reserve banking still exists. So many people think Social Security is going broke. So I have to keep going over and over and over.
This is perfect. Let's take a second and talk about that, Ellis, because the other worthless one, and this is one that makes me insane, is there are people out there that will literally block a job guarantee for all, ending involuntary unemployment. There are people on the left, forget the Republicans. Folks, forget the Republicans. Forget even the Democrats. There are people on the left that will cock block a job guarantee because of some worthless, uneducated, illiterate, ignorant view of robots and automation.
God.
We are talking about bottom dwellers, friggin' scum suckers that would literally leave you and I destitute because they would rather talk about automation and all these other bullshit things than sit there and talk about enabling a federal job guarantee. First of all, they don't even know what we're talking about. They already have an answer for why it's not any good.
Job, no job. Job bad, work for the man.
Stupid fucking idiots. Stupid fucking idiots. Okay? And so you and I, if you get laid off tomorrow, I get laid off next week, God forbid, I've been through it enough. If you've ever been through that and you see one of these dumb fucks talking about automation and robots and cock blocking a job guarantee because they don't understand it, these are the people. Don't even worry about the Republicans, because if we got out of our own way, they wouldn't even matter. We would crush them. But we can't get out of our own way because these worthless morons won't even take the time to understand when we talk about a job guarantee, we are talking about serving your local communities in the public purpose. So in other words, we're not talking about twisting the fucking ties on Tootsie Pops. Okay? We're not talking about digging holes and filling holes, digging holes and filling holes. We're talking about whatever your local community decides it needs.
Yeah, those are the people that think the Tootsie Pop thing, they're the people who are supposedly deep thinkers. You know, the ones that put ism on the end of words all the time, like economism and fascism and ism. They're the people that are such deep thinkers that they cannot get their heads out of the Industrial Revolution. They think that a job means a private sector thing. It means working for the man. It means working for capitalists. A job means it's a useless job, a useful job, a productive job. It's a thing where you got to be able to make monetary profit from. Otherwise, it's useless. Okay, and so when they hear the word job, they instantly go, "Oh!" Okay, and then they become Yosemite Sam, oh, I hate jobs, and the problem with that is that they do not understand that the reason why we're in the toilet, and we've been in the toilet for the last 40 years, okay, is because neoliberalism attacked full employment. It attacked full employment, not full basic income, not full robots. Okay, it attacked full employment. Okay, and then there was wage suppression. Okay, and there was union busting. All right, and then after we get through this several years past Reagan and the Bush and stuff, you start seeing part-time jobs becoming more prevalent. And then with each recession, there's more and more part-time jobs replacing it for unskilled workers until we've got to the point where low-wage underemployment is the norm, deficit reduction is the norm, and we substitute government spending for consumption with private debt expansion for consumption. And now you have vast wealth and income inequality in all sorts of areas, right? They can't see that because it's been going on so long, for so many years. So they just say, hey, check it out. Jobs, that's working for the man, that's working for the capitalist. Got to bring it down, got to have basic income. And then what they don't realize is that a basic income guarantee without a job guarantee, all it is a subsidy. It's a subsidy that allows the government to pay half of a full-time wage for a part-time worker. Instead of the capitalist, all right, paying a worker for full-time, it continues to pay a low wage, and it continues to work them part-time, and then the government picks up the other half of the paycheck that the employer should be paying. That's what a basic income guarantee is. Okay? It's a subsidy for the low-wage producer. All right? It doesn't deal with GDP redistribution. It doesn't deal with inequality problems. It doesn't deal with wealth inequality. It doesn't. And if you get to a living wage, then what's happening is you run the risk of making the workforce smaller, the labor force smaller, and when you do, you lower that inflation barrier even more. So that means that government spending can become inflationary, and then as inflation does start rising, you can only have two choices. You either have to raise the UBI to a higher pay, or you simply have to stop and cut it. And if you do, then there goes the living wage aspect of it. All right, it's not going to work. You've got to have output. And guess what? The robots that Steve's talking about then can't do it. C-3PO is not here. Jim Kirk, for the last fucking time, he's sitting on the bridge of the Enterprise amidst all of this fucking automation, and he's still fucking working. Why is that? He said, well, that's fantasy. That's fantasy. Well, let's look at it again, the US military. With all this automation, look at the space program. All this automation, and yet astronauts for some reason are necessary. That's because C-3PO is not here yet. It's not reality. Yes, machines can punch things, and they can drive rivets into things, and they can weld things together, and that's all good. But an orange arm, a big orange arm, is not going to be your police officer. Okay, you can install a big orange arm in Florida along the beach there. Warning, please do not molest the seals. Come close come near me so that my claw can arrest you. I need to apprehend you. Come here. It's just stupid. Quit being stupid. A big orange arm's not going to come along and take your charge. Okay? A big orange arm is not going to create legislation. A big orange arm is not going to... We're many, many, many years away from that. But guess what? Here's the important thing that these people never think about. Because the robots can do all the drudgery work and all the shit work that humans used to do in the Industrial Revolution, guess what that means? That means that now human beings are free to do socially productive, useful work in their communities, doing things to help one another and be paid for it. Okay? And you let the robots do the shit jobs. Hey, great. Humans don't have to do shit jobs anymore. And here's something that's really going to burn your ass too if you're one of those basic income. Oh, the robots are coming. The job guarantee actually accelerates automation. It does. It actually accelerates it. It makes it move forward faster. Ah! God, the robots. No, robots are coming. They're going to take away the need for human labor.
Ellis,
we're all going to die.
They have sat
Give me a
there
check.
repeatedly saying that the jobs that we have to do out there are shrinking. They're all going away.
Bullshit.
They're,
Bullshit. Bullshit.
They're all going away. But let's just say hypothetically.
Bullshit.
Let's just say hypothetically, bridges didn't need to be built, repaired, anything. Let's just say hypothetically, we didn't need to upgrade our energy grid. We didn't need high-speed rail. We didn't need anything other than what we got, and it's just going to keep narrowing and narrowing and narrowing, and blah, 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 and the robots are coming. If that were true, let's just say hypothetically, even if that were true, your point about the fact that we're finally able to do meaningful things that we want to do for our communities.
Yeah.
We're able to focus on enhancing our lives instead of focusing on just doing the drudgery.
Yeah.
Instead of that, what makes these people breathe? Why are they around? Why are they saying these things? Why can't they grasp this?
These are the same people that want the Star Trek future. You know, they're always talking about we need to have the Star Trek future. We got to move towards the stuff. Hey, do you not think that what Captain Kirk is doing, or Dr. McCoy is doing, you don't think they're doing it for the fellow man? I will quote Jean-Luc Picard from First Contact, the movie First Contact. There's no money anymore. We do everything for the betterment of humanity. Okay? There you go. That's why they do what they do. And that's what a job guarantee is, except there's money involved. We pay people to serve in their communities. Okay? The reason why is the currency issuer doesn't require an income. The federal government doesn't require an income, so it can fund these paychecks without having to expect a profit monetarily. You know, you don't need a money profit there. So guess what? You know what this means? We can redefine work if only we're allowed to think beyond the fucking industrial revolution. So let's try that, shall we? Here we see a surfer. Is he working or is he not? The answer is he's working. Here we see a stay-at-home mum. Is she working or is she not? The answer is she's working. Here we see a man stocking shelves at Walmart or Asda. Are they working? Yes, they're working. Why? Because work is energy expenditure regardless of whatever reason. All right? So now let's redefine work. Here's the surfer. The community has a problem with pollution along its beaches and it wants to control it. So it wants to monitor mercury, the level of mercury in the water along the beaches and whatnot. So it puts up a job guarantee. You know, the job guarantee's office is there. The surfer comes in. They say, what do you like to do? He says, well, I'm really good at surfing. Great, you got a job. Doing what? Being paid to surf, 40 hours a week if you like. Really? Yeah, living minimum wage too with benefits. To surf? Yeah, absolutely. Except one thing. While you're out there, take these little vials. And while you're out surfing, just could you like pick up a couple of water samples and turn them in on your way home at the collection facility? We'd like to monitor the pollution content. Oh yeah, no problem. There it is. Now you're paid to surf.
Ellis,
Why? It's socially useful, is it not, Steve?
100%.
Okay, so why should he not be paid for something that he can do? Right. Why should he not pay a stay-at-home mum? Do you not think raising children by the actual parent is socially useful? Or should we just have an entire generation of kids being raised by strangers, daycare facilities? Right? Is that what we should do?
Ellis, it all comes down to they believe that money comes on rich people. It grows on rich people.
It grows on the federal government. It comes out of the federal government's nose every time it sneezes, right? It comes out of its ears. It comes out of its hair. It emanates like God emanates life in Christianity. My friend Stavros put it perfectly. The federal government is God. That's it. Full stop. It is. When it comes to the US dollar, the federal government is God. End of story. All right? That's his words right there. And that's a fact. When it comes to the government of Australia, the Australian dollar, okay? When it comes to the Australian government is God. When it comes to the British pound, the UK government is God. Think of it that way. If that helps, if you can get your head wrapped around that. I mean, who makes iPhones? Apple. Okay, so Apple's the god of iPhone. Yeah. Okay, well, who makes US dollar? The private sector. Shit. It's counterfeiting. All right, it's called counterfeiting. It's US government. Every time it spends, it's creating new dollars. Government spending, federal spending is dollar creation. End of story.
That's it. That's it. So, Ellis, let me ask you this question because you're going to want to answer this, I'm sure. the federal job guarantee is an absolute boom for unions. It absolutely gives them the ultimate power, because now all of a sudden, in order for people to work at company A, B, or C, not only do they have to beat the benefits package of the federal job guarantee, but they also have to make it so that there's enough of a gap there that the people are actually willing to put up with the man's shit. Okay? So all of a sudden now, they're going to have to compete once again for labor. Labor is not captive any longer.
Right.
Labor now has choices.
Yes.
Why is this in any way, shape, or form resisted by the quote-unquote socialists and all the other fools out there that think they got the friggin' stranglehold on some ideological truth, when reality is so much sweeter, isn't it? I mean,
I haven't had any pushback from socialists. In my experience, I very rarely hear socialists push back at me as far as full employment is concerned, like a job guarantee or whatnot. It's usually the basic income people that pull this shit, you know, the pushback against the job guarantee and all that crap. But the reason why, and I'll tell you honestly, from what I've been doing research and looking into it, and then I wrote a quick blog post once about it. The reason why you see such a pushback with the job guarantee is because, like any other political thing, okay, comes from a think tank, comes down to a political party, bleeds through the media, and then into the person's head, okay? Same it is with the basic income guarantee, all right? Comes down from the top, makes it through the media, and gets into your head. And the people that are in charge of these talking points are, you know, your business leader, your financiers, the bigwigs, the 1%. And they would rather see a basic income guarantee than a federal job guarantee, because a federal job guarantee means full employment, all right? And they can't have that. They don't want that. Full employment is the worst thing you could ever approach a business leader with. They don't want it, because it means, number one, they lose control over disciplining the workforce. Okay? They can't threaten them and intimidate them with the threat of unemployment lines. Number two, it ends low wages for good. It pushes low wages out. The federal job guarantee pushes it out. And they don't like that either. All right? So that's a big threat. And the reason why it's a major threat is because it anchors, the job guarantee anchors the currency. It anchors the currency of whatever nation we're talking about. We're talking about the US, it anchors the US dollar. Australia, the Australian dollar. British pounds in the UK. It anchors those currencies to labor. And when that happens, that means that basically if the business leader or someone wanted to end full employment, it would automatically create a situation of instability. Price stability would be questionable, unemployment would rise immediately, and everybody would know who to blame. And people would be calling for people's heads. And they don't want that. So they'd rather have a basic income and nothing else. And then they start throwing all these stupid arguments, these talking points, what we call TP. They throw them at you. The robots are coming. Jobs are not necessary anymore. Working is outdated. I'm a deep thinker, so jobs are outdated. That's it. And the robots come in. So we're all going to die. Just give us a check. You know, and that's what they tell these people. You know, these people, they just repeat it. So, you know, the think tank says, listen, this is obvious. Look at your media. Think tank says, basic income guarantee is a must. We need it. Automation is coming. And all of a sudden, MSNBC, is it time for a basic income? Because robots are coming. Experts say yes. And what do you hear? The average Democrat, robots are coming. Give me a check. I mean, there it is right there. All right. So, you know, people oppose the job guarantee at the way up. Oppose it because it anchors the currency to labor. That means full employment for human beings. You anchor the currency to gold. That means full employment for gold. Anchor it to silver, full employment for silver. Anchor it to labor, full employment for humans. Business leaders don't want that. Business leaders don't want that. He'll fight tooth and nail against that. He would take universal health care. He would take a basic income. He'll take anything but full employment. And he will fight like hell-bent for lead to stop it, because it means that he gets his ass kicked by labor. So what's that mean for unions, like Steve was saying? Bargaining power. In a situation of full employment, they can't deny a union. Union's going to have to say, look, we're up and walk out of here, and you'll have to pick from the job guarantee pool of unskilled labor to do our job. Huh? Yeah, you're going to be fucking paying the price for that, matey. And then say, look, okay, let's just get back in here and negotiate. And then suddenly you see a bunch of hoppers coming around saying, don't tell me what to do, motherfucker. You know, and labor will get its balls back, and it'll get a hammer back. And it'll be able to swing that back. You know, but until that job guarantee comes, you're not going to have a situation of full employment. And labor unions are just going to be in the back pocket of neoliberalism and distort it.
I don't understand the next piece to this also, and that is this whole concept of single payer. Ellis, if we sat there and got rid of, you know, the idea of having to have insurance as a whole, and we were able to go to the doctor at will, obviously there is, I don't want to lie, I'll be honest, there is absolutely a potential for some rationing in the beginning. There's an absolute potential for some inflation, if you will, on various things, simply because of the idea that we haven't really ramped up hiring for those areas. We've got a lot of unemployed people, a lot of underemployed people, and we should be getting them ready for those positions now.
Yeah, you fucked the educational system, first of all. That's the most important thing we need to talk about, Steve.
Absolutely.
The fact is we fucked primary education in this country over the last 30 years. We're defunding it. Grade schools are suffering. They're shit houses now. And so we've guaranteed a generation of stupid people, and I don't mean that in a offensive way or to hurt anyone's feelings. What I guess the best way to say is we've guaranteed a generation of kids who are completely functioning below their potential as human beings, okay, because the education sucked. So that you've also fucked the secondary education, university, by high tuition and student debt loads, okay, making it almost impossible for those people who do qualify. Got to become a doctor, and you get pushed aside on it. No. You know, why don't you get into banking? Do something useful. Where 40 years ago, a banker was fucking boring. Couldn't get laid if he tried. Had $500 in his pocket. But still, the fact is, we fucked the education system, okay? So now, you don't have enough doctors, you don't have enough nurses, and, you know, we need that. But what I will say is this. The United States has the real resources necessary to put this together and make it work. And as long as it has the real resources, that's, you know, doctors and nurses, but also medical equipment, pharmacy stuff, you know, medicines. It has the gurneys, it has the buildings, the land, everything that you need to ensure the good health of every American citizen is easily affordable in terms of US dollars, because the government will just authorize the spending for it, and that'll be that. Okay? So there could be some pressure as far as, you know, well, we can't get to your ingrown toenail problem, and for another 2 weeks, we've got people that need heart surgery. You know, I mean, you may have to wait 2 weeks or so to get your toenail looked at. But on the whole, there won't be any major problems with Medicare for all if we had it starting tomorrow. There'd be no problems whatsoever. I mean, Medicare has been operating for years and years and years. All right, the basic infrastructure is already there. We just got to simply say, okay, now it's available to everybody. That's it. Okay, no more health insurance necessary. Bye. Okay. Well, what about all those people that work in the health insurance co? They're going to be out of a job. Well, robots are coming. I'm sorry. What we should do with them is allow them to transfer to some other useful endeavor. See how that works?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how are they going to do that when there's nothing else? There's the job guarantee. Oh. Okay, see, there's a progressive agenda here, folks. There's certain things we need to do with job guarantee, universal healthcare, infrastructure modernization, high-speed rail, green energy. Okay, we're talking about doing the whole thing. It's called prosperity thinking. We're thinking forward. We're thinking prosperity first. And then once you got full stomachs and full employment and everyone's happy, all of these citizens might be willing to turn a blind eye when they finally realize you didn't lie to them, you didn't screw them over, you gave them what they needed. They might be willing to turn a blind eye while you go after the rich there and you restructure that society and have your little, whatever you wanted to do, remold society into something great. But I'll tell you what, MMT, with an understanding of it, and then looking at it and applying policy prescription in the correct way, with correct macroeconomic policy, the class war is already had. It ends the whole problem. The whole thing's over before it starts. Because you can end poverty. You can end involuntary unemployment. You can end this vast income and wealth inequality. You can end the suffering from lack of health care. You can have your green energy. The class war's over before it even begins. If you just get the shit right in your head. Just get this stuff right in your head. This is what we have to do. We have to move forward. You want to defeat the oligarchy? Listen to what Nancy had to say last night. Listen to what Joe Firestone talks about. Okay? And then if you want to have a solid plan for the people, listen to what we're talking about here. MMT is not some banking conspiracy. God have mercy. I can't help. I have to keep coming back to that. It's just, I'm going to leave the show when it's over. I'm going to sit in my room and laugh for an hour just thinking about it, wondering where the fuck my check is. Because I'm not. Oh wait. Hang on, just 1 second, Steve. Hello. Yes, how you doing? Did you speak to him? And what did he say? Fantastic. Well, go ahead and then just direct deposit my bank account in the Cayman Islands, would you? Oh, thanks so much. Love it. Great. Bye-bye. Sorry, that was my criminal banking handler. That was my criminal banking handler letting me know where my MMT shield check was going to be deposited. Anyway, what were we saying?
I think what we were saying was, quite frankly, that our movement is full of people that are ignoring everything that you just said. And thank God we have people that are watching what we're doing here. And I hope to God they start getting confident in their game to be able to go out amongst the others and say it in a gentle way. Be personable, be kind, be persuasive. But the reality is at some point in time, you got to say shit or get off the pot.
Yeah.
I mean, I say this all the time, and I'll say it again. People literally are dying. I mean, straight up are dying. Every time you walk through the city and you trip over somebody laying on cardboard boxes, that you know that is there as a political choice. And then when you see them put those spike things along the ledges so that people can't sit down or lay on the building ledges and stuff like that, again, more of the same. We're sitting here telling you the most humane thing we can do is give everyone single-payer health care that includes mental health coverage for those who have ailments that preclude them from participating in normal society and other ways. Give them the tools they need to survive. And we're talking about giving them all an opportunity for a public purpose job at a living wage with living benefits, okay, that allows them the same opportunities to go beyond that if they want to, or simply stay in their local community. And we're talking about fundamentally changing society without tearing down a million walls. We're talking about leveraging what's in place today and making people realize that all the lies about debt deficits and about all the friggin' hurdles and all the robots and all the friggin' stupid things that people say out of ignorance. We're here to tell you that the barriers are actually quite low. The hardest thing is overcoming our collective ignorance. When we, the people, are not ignorant. And we, the people, choose to call out the liars, the gaslighters, the capitalists, the rentiers, all the other people, Wall Street, you name it. And we tell them, we know what you did last summer, and we got proof that we can do it without your ass. We have sovereign currency today that can be spent on these things right now. To hell with them, we can survive and we can thrive. But you guys have to want it enough that you stop only focusing on, you get some bad march, the people have their cell phone and it's like, you know, doing this and in the march and they're going, hell no, we won't go. And yay, you know, this is what democracy looks like. And all that stuff. You got to start doing that for things like a federal job guarantee, for things like Medicare for all, for things like understanding that we're not broke and you shouldn't be cutting Social Security. And for all those things that really, really make up the basis by which we have true equality and we eliminate the chasm from the wealthy. You want to take down the wealthy? We're giving you that. This is it, man. This is it. If you mean it, here it is. But I don't think people really mean it. They just say it. It's more fun to be angry than to be successful. It's more fun to be angry than successful because you can be angry sitting on your couch watching friggin' Oprah eating bonbons. Whereas you have to actually get off your ass and fucking put your fist in the air, make a phone call, write a letter, friggin' collaborate, organize, and demand in order to make the change happen. That's the difference. But let me tell you, it's right there for us to do right now. You don't have to do 4,000 green the dollars and friggin' Hail Marys and all the other things that they want you to do. You know? Seriously. Am I right, Ellis, or am I talking shit?
There's nothing that you have to do that's more difficult than first educate yourself. You don't need to go to college to do it. Do it right at home. Okay? In your spare time. Learn. Open your mind, start learning. Once you've educated yourself, educate others. And while you're at it, get active. All right? Get out there once you know what you're talking about. Get out there. Make the phone calls like Steve said. It reminds me of Prue over there in England trying to save the NHS. This is an older lady. She goes out every day taking MMT and trying to save the NHS. But she's not just talking on social media. She goes out in the streets. She's out there to save the NHS, handing out flyers and talking to people. Yeah, that might, you know, that's something that you can do. If not, talking to other people, just talking to friends is enough to spread the message. Reach the critical mass. We need to get to the critical mass of citizenry that understand how this works, because then you become very dangerous to the establishment. All right? And I would say that, the oligarchy and, you know, those in charge, the 1%, are a difficult hurdle to overcome. But I think the biggest hurdle that progressives face is themselves. Basically what I'm saying is they've got to resist the temptation to wake up every morning and punch themselves in the face. Go in the mirror and look, stop punching yourself in the face and say, what are you fucking doing, man? I'm fighting the man. Because literally that's what you're fucking doing. All right? And it may seem to you that you're punching the oligarchy in the face. I'm taking on the 1% and fighting them. But in reality, all I see and all other people see who know what's really going on, those of us who aren't delusional, you see a man standing in his robe in the bathroom punching himself in the face. You need some help, son. All right, so you need to resist self-sabotage is what I'm saying. For those people that couldn't think deep enough, they couldn't get down there quite deep enough, you need to stop sabotaging yourself. When someone tells you that the rich are not the source of dollars or pounds, it's the national government in question. And that because of the flexible currency arrangement we've had since 71, these governments, actually even before 71, these governments simply do not tax upon their spending. And when we say that, that's enough information there for you to give people hope. All right? It's all up to you whether or not you want to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Ellis, let me get. We're at the 9:30 mark. I want to see if we can take a shot at something else real quick.
Sure.
You and I both love music,
Uh,
and I think music is a large part of what keeps me going. I'm a metalhead. I'm an old school punker. I'm a mosher. I'm a friggin' mosh pit kind of guy. I like Meshuggah. I like Rage. I like System of a Down. I like anything that's got an edge to it that makes me think. And so bands like Tool,
Yeah.
or James Keenan, obviously you're wearing a Sex Pistols shirt. So you combine the rage with the intellect that's required to friggin' do this thing. I mean, this is what we're talking about, is marrying culture and politics and education and economics and all that stuff, and driving forward with a full 360 view of what it means to be human, and and ending the sufferings. And music captures that. I mean, what are some of your favorite bands, as it were, in regards to the way that your mannerisms and the way you approach politics and economics come through most clearly?
Well, that's a good question, isn't it? I like the Ramones. Okay. I like the Circle Jerks. I like the Dead Kennedys quite a lot. All right. A big Dead Kennedys fan, DK. All right. Sex Pistols, yeah, obviously. So I were a punk. And it's not just these bands, though, that, it's not just the metal, and it's not just hard rock and alternative rock like Nirvana or STP or Tool, which is my favorite. I think my favorite. I mean, I'm a Tool nut, all right? So that's just all there is to it.
You're a tool for Tool.
Yeah.
Full.
Yes. And I like the Dead Milkmen too. So is my 10-year-old son, I mean, yeah. But Mozart, I learned composition from Mozart, studying his manuscripts. Haydn and Beethoven and Karl Orff, a bunch of classics too. And then I'm also a nut for film score compositions. The guy that did the score for the movie Hero, that's one kick-ass score. It's not just music as in popular music or rock or whatnot. I mean, I have even Psychelos, a song of Psychelos, 2,000 years old. that shit, I find that awesome. Ancient Greek music, wow. All right, So yeah, for me the same thing is it has to have an edge, but it has to have some deep meaning to it. Absolutely. Even if there's no words, the music has to have some meaning. It can't just be your typical bullshit like a jingle. It's got to be something very meaningful. That's why I like Tool. Absolutely. You can listen to Metallica and you say, all right, Metallica kicks ass. They've got some classical edge to them. Or you can listen to Ozzy Osbourne and you say, well, Ozzy kicks ass. But this music, the composition tends to have a format, a formula that it follows. Tool is actual composition. It's Mozart for hard rock. They actually go in and they actually write music, and the song starts a certain way, but it doesn't end the same way. In the middle, there's a bridge. It's not the same thing going on and on and on for 10 minutes and then stop. It's not. So that's why I'm big on Tool. And then I like the lyrics an awful lot. Bring it down. Flush it down. Yeah. So I'm all about that.
Well, but, do you like Alice in Chains?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's this one song called
Here Come the Rooster. Oh yeah. Yeah.
When I was going through my darkest times, you realize that the reason why I'm even on these shows at all with you is because of grave personal loss, tremendous deep wounds that still evidence themselves in PTSD, horrible darkness that stem from the crash, divorce, loss of everything that I've ever owned, my entire life savings, living check to check, that whole darkness. And bands like Alice in Chains captured that dark spot in your life, that feeling of, oh my God, I don't want to live anymore. I really am good to go if you're ready to take me out, God. And then you've got that whole, I want you to scrape me from the walls and go crazy like you made me. I mean, those kind of songs, you feel it inside. I got goosebumps just singing that because it was the darkest spot I've ever been in my life. Mm-hmm. And music both captures that and it helps make you feel the stuff, and it brings it to a place where when you do act, when you do teach, when you do talk about what could be, and you remember whence you came from, and you remember the horrors, music for me is my revolutionary juice. Without it, without System of a Down, without the Deftones, without friggin' Meshuggah, and bands like Gojira, who are really, really, really hardcore ecological bands who talk about the environment and stuff like that in their music. Intronaut, these bands that are really super deep that you actually have to take the time to read the lyrics to. Tool, obviously. But you take that stuff, and I think that people, when they marry their music, I mean, the 60s had it right in this regard, man. They had beautiful music that tied together with the movement, that tied together with the entire essence of the struggle. And it was one cohesive thing, like the era was really, truly represented by the music. We don't have that today. Or even our music's been hijacked by the man. I mean, it's horrible. It really, really is.
Yeah, that's why I suggested the first time that when we decided to do the Sunday shows, I said, you ought to get some theme music, like look into maybe Megadeth or Tool or something, because there needs to be something to express, look, this guy's an analyst. I thought they were boring prats. He's saying fuck a lot, and he likes Tool. You're not boring after all. There has to be some way to express the emotional discontent, the build-up. Yeah, and that's what music is. It's emotional. It's driven by the emotion. There's a major keys and a minor keys. There's really dark minor keys too. And there's some hard ones, And if you listen, like for instance, Mozart, you listen to his D minor works, the dark stuff, and the C minor works. There's some serious emotion pent up in that. All right. And then you listen to his G major works, and it's all there. Things are great. Well, that's because music is emotion. It's the composer is putting his emotion on paper, or putting it out there in the form of sound. And so Tool's rather dark for a reason. There's a certain emotional tone to Tool. And there's a certain emotional tone to Sex Pistols as well. It's called sarcasm. And fuck you. That's what that is,
Absolutely.
But it's cathartic. It helps you get by. I was asked several times, do you listen to music when you write these? People are wondering, how I come up with all these Facebook posts. They say, all these Facebook posts, they go like 8,000 every morning, and they're all different, or the unique analogies and stuff. Do you listen to music when you're doing that? Would you just sit around and think of this in the quiet and stuff? No, I listen to music, and they always, what do you listen to? What do you listen to? The truth is, you want to know what I listen to? I listen to the same goddamn thing I listen to every morning when I write for the last 2 years. It's the soundtrack to the video game Elder Scrolls, Morrowind, and Skyrim. That's what I listen to. That's what I listen to every morning. I listen to the entire Skyrim album now. I've been doing that for the past year. So whenever you see these posts going up, you guarantee that Jeremy Soul's music from that video game is flying by in my ears while I'm sitting there.
Yeah,
that's what I do.
Yeah, I listen the band Breaking Benjamin. They're kind of a little bit poppier than I like, but quite frankly, they've got a little formula that works for me, and they're good grass cutting music. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there listening to this one song called "Blow Me Away," and "Blow Me Away" was the soundtrack for the game Halo 2. Yeah,
that's a kick-ass shit. That's the only reason why I have that Xbox in that you probably saw at Christmas. It's because it's a Halo Xbox. It's the Halo edition. I love Halo. It's my thing, man. All right.
I love Halo. Yeah. This right here, this song, he talks about, I am a shadow on the wall. I'll be the one that saves us all. And he goes, you want to fight, come fight me now, and you hear the oh and stuff like that. And I think to myself, because I get trolled by tons of people, horrible, worthless people that sit there and try and tell me about banking conspiracies and all these other things that would derail saving lives. Mm-hmm. And they literally, this one jackwad saying that I'm bought and paid for by George Soros and on and on and on and on, right? Which is not a big deal because, but this is what's problematic. His comment wasn't a big deal, but then you read the comment right below it. Somebody who hasn't actually come and watched Real Progressives, who actually doesn't know what we're talking about, and they all of a sudden go, oh, gee, thank you very much for warning me. I won't go there now.
Yeah. And
this is the low-life level of idiocy that circulates. And it's a cancer to progress. And I wish that there were a Facebook lawyer on tap that would just hit a button and they would go out there and smite the fool for libeling us and lying and so forth. But when I listen to the music, it just makes me say, you know what? I look at my kid. I realize that if I don't do it, that jackass who says I'm Soros' fault certainly isn't fighting for my kid. They certainly aren't fighting for single parent. And they most definitely aren't fighting to friggin' get macroeconomic reality into our government.
He's not even fighting for himself. He's just out there to make a noise to get famous. You know, he wants to be a quarterback because he wasn't in high school. That's it. And he's got a few followers now. He's a little jock. He's a little social media jock. He's got a bunch of nerds that follow him around.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly it. You know, the problem is that even we need nerds and we need shut-ins and we need this and we need that ins. We need all people to wake up in whatever fashion they can wake up and call, make phone calls, write letters, do whatever they can to friggin' bring about this truth. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. Yeah. And so when people like this get away with lying and saying stupid things like that, it infuriates me. It really does. But then I go back to my music. I go and I take it out on something else. I do a rant live stream that always vents out the venom,
Forgot about the Misfits.
Well,
I saw that one dancing right there. So, fuck the Misfits. I forgot all about that. I ain't no goddamn son of a bitch. You better think about it, baby. I forgot all about that. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I went and saw the Misfits, ironically, with Head PE. And Head PE had this one song. I'm not going to get into it right now, but they had this one really heavy song. And the Misfits were right there on stage playing next to them. And I yelled, over 40 crowd. And then all of a sudden the wall of death hit and we're running to the middle, crashing and all. That right there is I still would do it every day if I could get away with it. Sore as hell, but I'd do it anyway. Mm-hmm. But
I should mention though, the thing that I said about he's a social media jock and he's got little nerds following him around.
Yes.
I didn't mean that to be an insult to nerds. What I was saying was what he did was he's a failure in life. He was a failure growing up. He always dreamt to being a quarterback and no one cared. So he wasn't very popular in school. And then social media allows him to become popular. So just imagine for yourself now the popular quarterback, the popular jock. Okay, he's got a bunch of nerds going, oh, I wish I were like you. Would you please be my friend and my protector on social media? I admire you. And he's like, yeah, don't pay attention to real progressives. They're full of shit, man. Have a beer.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't go there. Thanks for warning me. I wouldn't want to have my ass kicked by Steve Drumbody.
That's what I was talking about. Okay, I was a fucking nerd growing up. Okay, and then when I turned about 17, something weird happened to me. I became a fucking asshole. I got tired of the bullying. I got tired of the bullshit. I started wearing my hair the way I felt like. I grew my hair down to my ass. Looked like a lion's mane. I dyed it blonde. Then I cut one side completely off. I was bald on one side, not the other. And then, before you know it, I'm wearing fucking leather and chains, and I got ears pierced and whatnot. I'm listening to Sex Pistols, listening to Ramones, the Misfits, and anything else you can fucking think of. I'm the circle fucking jerks. My favorite fucking film back then was Repo Man. Fuck you. Fuck your jocks, all right? So, I were a nerd, and I still say I'm a nerd. I don't give a fuck what people think of me. Isn't that beautiful? I'm a nerd that just doesn't give a fuck what you think about me. That's great. Yeah. And So no offense to nerds there. I was just trying to explain that this guy was a failure at one time and now he fancies himself. His social media is a way just for some people to become that popular. Like, oh, I've got 200 friends. I'm popular and people will take my advice. So take my advice. Stay away from Steve at Real Progressives. He's Soros. But
Oh, thank you. I wondered with all those tattoos and that hair if he was going to beat me up. And now I don't have to worry about it.
fuck off, man.
Oh my God.
Oh, a pair of testicles. Down, let them hang low.
Oh.
Fuck, man.
All right. Well, all right. So Ellis, I'm going to give you the last word here, my brother. All right. Take us out.
Okay, fuck. Oh, you actually want me to say something? Oh, I thought you said the last word. You know. I figured a gratuitous use of some invective. So, you know, I can't say this enough. The people out there, the detractors that call themselves progressives, all right, they sit there and they try and convince you that Steve's bought and paid for the banksters, or Warren Mosler's bought and paid for the banksters, or me, or Joe Firestone. This shit doesn't add up. You have heard me say, I don't know how many times, that private debt has to go. We've got to eliminate its use for consumption and rely more on government spending for consumption. That's exactly the opposite of what any bank would lobby government, would lobby a politician to say. All right? They're certainly not going to hand me a paycheck for that. All right? They're not going to hand Steve a paycheck for that. They're not going to hand anybody a paycheck to say something that's against their priorities. So what I'm trying to tell you is the majority of these jackwagons that say this shit about Real Progressive, about me, about Warren Mosler, other people, they're so ignorant. Their education is so limited because it's basically infected with politics and shit that comes down, talking points that come from political parties and the mainstream. They can't think deep enough. Literally, if you put a plastic bag over their head, they wouldn't know how to get it off of it. Literally, they just sit there and suffocate because they're that dumb. All right? They are the ones that actually formulate these notions. But on the one hand, Ellis is saying the government cannot run out of money. Right? Number two, the rich don't fund federal programs. And number three, the national debt's a bunch of savings accounts. Oh, well, he's bought and paid for by the banksters. None of this shit makes any sense. It's contradictory. Even they know it's contradictory. They can't help themselves because they don't know how to fight back against it. They don't know what to say. They don't know what the hell to say. And they get so goddamn confused, the shit that they're saying makes no sense. Right? They even know that. The point being is that when you hear something that doesn't sound like it's making any sense, that should be a warning. That guy's fucking nutter. Ignore him. And for the vast majority of people who make these wild claims, what was the one Richard Werner made that said that MMT people are paid CIA shills? I mean, that was a great one. That was just fucking brilliant there. But when you hear stupid nonsense like this, none of it is coming from a person who hasn't got enough knowledge to debate. They just don't have enough knowledge to fight back. And so they'll fill that knowledge, that missing knowledge gap there, that little gap in their knowledge, they'll fill it with anything that they can get their hands on, even if it sounds stupid. So what I would say as a final word is I want you to keep learning. Keep learning. Don't listen to these idiots. They don't want progress. God knows what the hell they want, but they don't want progress. They don't want to end suffering. They don't want to save lives. They just don't care. They've got an agenda, an ideological agenda. They've got an axe to grind, they're going to grind it. So you don't listen to these people, and you don't let these people discourage you. 5 years ago, MMT wasn't even taken seriously. Hell, mainly we were ignored. 5 years on today, we're being attacked, reviled in the media, and coincidentally, with larger than ever base of people that agree or are interested in learning. We're making huge strides. And that's the reason why Steve's accused of being Soros. And that's the reason why I'm accused of being owned by criminal bank handlers. So the reasons for that are obvious. So you just keep learning. And all you have to do is keep in mind that we're making progress, because if we weren't, I wouldn't be being attacked like this. We wouldn't be being reviled in media and media sources. We wouldn't be called names. These things wouldn't be happening to us if they weren't taking us seriously. In 5 years from now, we're going to be at critical mass. The thing's going to start going downhill. The momentum's going to pick up, and these people are going to be snowballed. They're going to be steamrolled right over. And progress is coming. Job guarantee's coming. Universal healthcare is coming. Infrastructure work's coming. Green energy is coming. It's inevitable. There's no way to stop it. It's coming. Know that. Keep learning. And once you got the fundamentals down there, teach someone else. Talk to your friends. Talk to your family. Talk to your co-workers. Don't abuse people, though, unless they abuse you. Okay? Never come at people with an axe and say, listen to me. But as a final word, though, I will say this. When you hear me attacking people and saying, shut the fuck up, sit the fuck down, shut the fuck up, the people that I'm talking to are not you. The people that I'm talking to are not people who are willing to learn. The people who I'm talking to are people who are morons, who have dedicated themselves to attacking me, damaging my reputation, or damaging the reputation of Warren or Joe or somebody else with a bunch of bullshit. They're dedicated to it, and so they deserve the ridicule. But this isn't about people that are trying to learn. Okay? So when you hear me using fuck, shit, piss, and all that other crap, I'm talking about real assholes out there. All right?
Yeah.
But, that show last night was absolutely the best real progressive show I've ever seen. I mean, it's just fan-fucking-tastic. That was just great. 100%.
All right, my friend. Well, with that, I'm going to let us go out with a little bit of Disturbed. Y'all have a good night.
Yay! All right.
There we go. Thank you, Ellis.
Yep.
So